to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Mindset channel. Hey, thanks for watching the videos on the channel, my members and my subscribers. I'm doing this little live thing where I sat down and talked with Hubert Eaves. And Hubert Eaves is the guy who was behind all of the stuff by D-Train, and he worked with Mtume, and he did some stuff with Stephanie Mills and all those hits that she had, along with Phyllis Hyman and a few other people. And we sat down and talked about a lot of things. I've already done the part one that's already out where we talk about the new stuff that he's working on. But in these two segments that I'm going to present here, one of them is where we're talking about his background and where he came from. It's some good information to know about some of the old school producers. And then we get kind of like in him going and how he met James D. Train Williams and all those things he did. So, hey, go along for the ride and learn something new. Stick around as long as you can. I'm going to run this for a while. And hopefully you enjoy and give me your comments and stuff like that, and share it with anybody that might want to know something about this. So here we go. We're going to pick up where we left off talking about his background. So yeah, man, it's time to get into some of the background stuff that some of you might know, but he's going to get a little more detail with it. So I know you're originally from St. Paul. Is it St. Paul?
Yeah, St. Paul, Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay. You kind of come from a big family, or brothers, sisters, or a small family?
No, big family, 7 of us. I was the oldest. I'm the oldest of 7.
Oh, you're the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a kind of musical family?
No, I mean, I'm the only one who's doing it professionally. My pops played as a hobby, but he loved music. He thought and breathed music. And I always heard him as a kid. When he was around, he would play his guitar and he'd play a little piano and all. He was the one that got me started. He came home one day. We always had a piano, and he came home one day, and I was banging on the piano, and he said it was the way that I was banging on the piano that made him know that there was something there. So he started working with me. Now he was self-taught himself, but he taught me some very basic stuff, and then from there I went on and gathered as much information as I could, technically from different people, and my hometown buddy Bobby Lyle, and a bunch of the musicians that I came up around, and we just I played blues for many years as well as a youngster, 16, 17, 18, and I played drums in bands. So I got a chance to get a good feel from R&B, black music, what we called R&B back then. There was no such thing as R&B, but
when it comes down to that thing, I was listening to you that when it comes down to kids and stuff like that, it's either in you or it's not. That's what I learned, because I got some kids that grown and they don't care nothing about no. I try to teach them piano. I mean, I got a pretty much brand new Korg Triton LE, and I'm like, I want to leave this to somebody, and they're like, huh, what's that? So
let me give you my address.
But no, I hear you. But when a father can see that his son, this is something that's for you, he saw right away, and evidently he was definitely right, based on the direction that you ended up going.
Let me interject this as well, right quick. The same thing applies to my son. I got him started when he was 3 years old, and he loved it. He just loved it.
You bid on it?
He's got songs out here right now.
Go ahead and shout him out, because I know a lot of people may not know Hubert Eaves the fourth.
The fourth, yeah.
And a lot of you guys, if you don't know it already, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be surprised if he tells you who he is and what he does. So go ahead and shout that out for him.
Well, I can say probably the most notable thing that you would know of at this point would be that song Erykah Badu, Think I Better Call Tyrone. That's him playing bass on it.
Wow.
So he was in her band. Yeah, for years he was with Will Down.
That's incredible. And I think I knew the name, but I didn't make the connection at the time. I mean, I think I heard that name and knowing that, and it's like, a lot of things people, if you're not out front holding the microphone, sometimes our names kind of get lost in the dust a little bit. But that's incredible right there, man. Tour player.
He was live and recording with her.
Was he the one on? I'm talking on the original stuff, On and On and stuff like that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that was before.
Okay, he came along a little later. But either way, that says a whole lot about who he was if he was able to get that gig.
Yeah, he's playing on some of my D Train stuff in the early days too.
What was he playing on there?
Drums and bass. He plays both.
Your son?
Yeah.
Or what was his age at that time?
Oh, he on my first D Train album, he was about 16, and he played drums on a song called D Train Theme.
So he was not too give or take a year or so around the same age as James Williams.
Yeah, that's how I met him, James, because they both went to Erasmus High School. But James is a couple years older than him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know when you met James was still basically a teenager. So let's go way back, Hubert. Let's go back to the days, man. Let's go back to the beginning. So wait, now that I think about it, before we get ready to go on the DJ train, who would you say in a nutshell was one of your biggest influences on piano and music?
I would say my first inspiration was a guy named Bobby Lyle from Minneapolis. Other than Bobby, I would say Herbie Hancock and McCoy Tyner, Ray Charles. You know, there's so many. James Brown.
Hard to say one.
Yeah, because I'm into drummers too, man. James Brown and the B.B. King, all of that.
You're in New York. James Mtume. Well, first we got to talk about 1976, man, and what that meant. So you're in New York doing your thing, and 1976 comes around. What's happening? I mean, you got this project that you do, Esoteric Funk. How do we get to there? And tell us a little bit about that and what's that all about?
Well, around that time, I was playing a lot of jazz gigs, and the kind of guys I would run into was Mtume, Reggie Lucas, and even Howard King. Howard King and I were playing with Gary Bartz. We did an album, a double album in Switzerland called I've Known Rivers. Anyway, all of us musicians were kind of like doing some of the same kind of gigs, and so we kind of gravitated towards each other. We had the same kind of sense of humor, and
I know the feeling in that band thing.
Yeah. So at that point, I knew I wanted to, I got an opportunity to do an album on a Japanese label. And so when I was putting the songs together, the musicians I chose were the ones who I was most familiar with in terms of could go in the directions that I wanted to go in. Right. And that was like Howard King on drums, and Mtume was playing percussion. See, a lot of people don't know that Mtume, man, was awesome on percussion.
Yeah.
Congas and so forth. That's what he played with Miles Davis as well. But
so I can picture this circle and how it works. I mean, me being a musician, and I know the neighborhoods and the stuff that we did and how people got connected right now all over the county. I mean, we got people spread all over. We all know each other from playing with each other at one time or interacting with each other at one time. Did you get a chance to play with Miles or brush with? Well, let's first finish with Esoteric Funk, because I think that you had Reggie and Mtume on that with you.
Yeah, and that was before the D Train, before Mtume Band, before any of that. So that particular album was like I said, 1976. I was able to get that album done. I was, I wrote all the songs and produced the album on a low budget back then, and it ended up being some people call it a classic album because of what was being done at that time. Everything was all played live. Everything was analog, meaning that it wasn't digital.
So what song stood out on that I can listen to that would tell it all?
Well, there's a song on there called Call to Awareness, which shows a lot of my jazz writing in terms of arranging and so forth. But I love the way that it shows even Mtume, and that was the first synthesizer introduction. First of all, it was the first synthesizer I had, which was my Micro Moog synthesizer, a little small one. I used it on "You're the One for Me" as well, but that was the first one I had, and I used other keyboards, and I even experimented with hooking up some attachments to a grand piano on one of the songs just to see what it would sound like. Because I've always been interested in trying
the electronic stuff.
Yeah.
Innovative ideas. That's what I want to say. So let's listen to that call to awareness.
Yeah.
Let's listen to a piece of that. So you're telling me that Reggie and Mtume were playing on that with you?
Yeah, and Howard King. Yeah.
Okay, Howard King. Yeah, that boy's a bad boy right there. Is Howard still around, as far as you know?
Yeah, Howard unfortunately had an accident in 1988, and he's paralyzed. So obviously he doesn't play anymore. But in fact, we talk almost 2 or 3 times a week at least. And I just was up to his house over the weekend to do an interview with him to talk about the first time he heard "You're the One for Me" when I called him in to play the drums on the track. And he was so excited to play on it, and he talks about it. And that's in my video coming out, the making of "You're the One for Me" episode number 2. So yeah, he's still around.
Okay, man. I wish I had a piece of that, but I'd love to talk to Howard, but I will see what you do with it first. So Miles Davis.
Yeah, Miles Davis. I met Miles. In fact, when we did Montreux Jazz Festival, we opened up for Miles with Gary. I was with Gary Bart's band, and matter of fact, Howard King was playing drums on that too. Okay. So anyway, Miles, fast forward, he recorded one of my D-Train songs. I should say one of our D-Train songs. That's myself and James Williams, okay. Who's actually D-Train. But anyway, he recorded that song called "Something's on Your Mind."
Okay, and we're familiar. Everybody should be familiar with that if you're a D-Train fan.
Yeah, but he did it his way, and I met him. I went to a live concert. His manager called me and said, "Come down and, you'll be our guest, and we want you to hear Miles play it in concert." So I went to see him. This was in New York, and I went to see him. And afterwards, I got a chance to hang out with him, get in his limo with him, and because all the press was trying to get to him, and and he wanted to just get away from it all. But I hollered over to him in the crowd. I said, "Hey, Miles, it's Hubert Eaves D-Train." And he said, "Oh, man, come on. So that's how I met him. He said, get in the car, get in it. So he said he was a fan of D-Train. He loved the music, and, that was his tribute.
Okay. Wow, that's a good story. So now you're working with James, and these are the big things right here to me, working with James, Mtume, and Reggie Lucas. Miles did his little retirement thing, or whatever you call it, what was 75, something like that. And then he that left the door open for James and Lucas to do their own thing. You're already working with them and stuff like that. So just to get in contact with you and y'all work on a deeper level, I guess, because what came out of it was people like Stephanie Mills and Phyllis Hyman. Let's talk about that, man. How does this stuff happen, and how are you involved, and what exactly did you do? Because I know that you were musically and instrumentally involved with making those songs hot. And trust me, way before I knew anything about you guys, to me, those songs were hot. To this day, they're hot.
Well, first of all, Mtume and Reggie had a great partnership, especially in the early days. And they complimented each other, and they wanted to reach out to the people who would compliment them. And we all knew each other because we all were playing together anyway. So, I learned a lot from them in terms of how to produce records and so forth, because they exposed me to their productions, and like people like Wade Marcus, who was a brilliant arranger, in terms of live strings and horns and an orchestra and all that. I got a chance to hear me playing along with the orchestra, and we would listen back to the tracks that we did, and I would say, "Wow, man! So you mean, oh, I like the way he doubled with played the piano part, and he did it with a string, and blah blah blah." And you learn a lot from just being there. And we played everything live. There was no such thing as sequencers, and
Right.
so we were all in the same room together. So if you mess up, I might have, let's say I mess up one particular part, everybody else has to stop and go take a break, and then I go in and fix my little part. Somebody else might have messed up, they fixed their part, but the meat and of the songs and the recordings were all live, and everybody was inclusive. So you're feeling what everybody contributed to as a whole.
Trust me, I remember them days right there before the electronics took over and stuff like that, going in the 80s. I mean, and the budgets were big too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as I did another story when disco kind of faded out, and a lot of budgets were reduced and whatnot, and got to a point where ain't nobody paying that kind of money to have that many people in the studio anymore, which is why people like you came along, Kashif and other guys with the electronic, because you didn't need a whole orchestra to create the stuff anymore. You know what I mean?
Let me not forget to mention my brother, rest in peace, Harry Whitaker, who was one of the other keyboard players who, along with myself, did a lot of the Stephanie Mills and the Mtume productions. So in a lot of those cases, I would anchor in certain songs the piano, the grand piano, and Harry would kind of float on top with the electric piano colors.
Okay.
So Harry and I were great friends, and we complimented each other. That's why he's even on my a couple of the songs on my Esoteric Funk album. I like the way he and I played together.
I don't know if I saw that name. So he was working out with you, because I was wondering when I listen to those songs, and especially when we talk about Phyllis Hyman, she got a couple of ballads on there that sound very deep and intricate in the playing and whatnot. And I was like, who is arranging this stuff and who's playing on this stuff? So most of those ballads you were playing on.
Yeah. We did one or two albums with Phyllis. I know we did, I think, about 3 or 4 albums with Stephanie. The one story that I do remember was "You Know How to Love Me."
Yeah, you know how to love me. Yeah.
I just remember because, usually, like I said, when you're doing tracks live, it's easy to make a mistake or a little flub that you go in and fix. But when I did that song, I came in one day and came in to play the piano for it, and did not make one mistake, and just did one take and walked out.
So is that one take on that song, "You Know How to Love Me"?
Yeah, one take. And back in those days, the one thing that was really great about Mtume and Reggie is they paid us well.
Yeah.
There was a scale for musicians that you
Right.
Bass, but they tripled it. They wanted to make sure that we, was there.
They know who they're paying, and they're just paying for the dependability on top of good musician, and the dependability is worth the extra money.
And they knew that we were going to give everything that we had to make this thing work.
Wow, I never knew that part right there. That's great information to know about it. Because my big thing is I know at a certain point in time, you guys end up moving on. That's how you got into D-Train and stuff like that. And I wasn't sure. I was hoping it wasn't something big that made that relationship. So the viewer is aware, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mtume is kind of became the collective for what you guys were doing in the production stuff, right?
Right. It was Mtume Productions, and then we also had the Mtume Band.
Right, and so a lot of people don't know that you guys were at one point backing Roberta Flack.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so and also Tawatha Agee came along around the time you did, right? To Mtume.
Yeah, because we're all the original members of Mtume.
Right. So how was your relationship with her?
Oh, great. I mean,
you left just before Juicy Fruit, but everybody knows her by that voice. And I just wondered, what type of person she was to work with?
She was always great. She, we wrote about maybe 2 or 3 songs together. One for Stephanie, maybe 2 for Stephanie and Mark Sedane.
But she sang some of the background vocals along with Stephanie, though. I know I Never Knew Love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's great for backgrounds and all. Her voice is just amazing, So as everybody knows by now, once they heard Juicy Fruit. So back then, though, she was basically doing most of the background stuff.
That Juicy Fruit doesn't do justice on how good, because I mean, she was also doing some backing singing, the group over in England when she came over for Juicy Fruit. But you can't really tell if she is the backup singer type. But she's on a lot of those records with Stephanie. You hear in the background and stuff like that. Did she do any with Phyllis?
Yeah, all of the Mtume Lucas productions, she was
working on everything.
Background stuff. And another person that loved her, absolutely loved her, was Luther Vandross. So she's on many of his records too.
Oh yeah, because I know they were doing some live stuff and they were doing Juicy Fruit in the concert. Anyway, so we get to a point where we're no longer working, at least in the same capacity that you were doing with Mtume, and you're floating around doing whatever, and something different happens. What were you doing when the big stuff come in, when you're stepping out on a D train?
Once I got to the end of working with Mtume, I was like, I just wanted more. That's all. Playing and getting that extra triple scale and all, that was all nice. But I just wanted to do my own writing. I was just feeling like I needed to do something else. Because we had been together doing this stuff for 4 or 5 years, and it got to the point where I just was hearing something else. I was experimenting with synthesizers and keyboards, and I was hearing other people experimenting, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
Music was changing.
Yeah.
We're right at the top of the 80s, and disco had its problem, and then now everybody's trying to figure out what direction we go in. So did you have the Prophet 5 at the time?
No, I was hearing about this new keyboard that was coming out, because like I said, I had a little small called micro move, but you could only play one note at a time.
Yeah, mono.
And that's the same keyboard I used on Stephanie Mills' Put Your Body in It on the bass. Boom, 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 boom. So
it works on bass.
Yeah.
But that's
But you couldn't play chords
or lead.
Yeah. And in fact, I play leads on it on my album, on Esoteric Funk. But you couldn't play chords with it. I heard about this Prophet 5, and there was a couple others, but I heard about the Prophet 5 that you could play chords on it, and I was really interested and intrigued about that. So I said, hey man, I want to check this thing out. So I was able to go to the store and play one, and once I heard it, I just had a connection with it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I need. And back then, it was about $2,800, expensive.
Wow.
And I couldn't afford it because I think I had left Mtume a while, and those triple scale sessions
slipping away a little bit
on no regular basis anymore. So I told my wife about it, and I said, hey, this keyboard is amazing. I got to get this thing. I can tell that I can make a connection with it. It just looks so, interesting.
Always happens like that, especially with the wife. Always. I had to make that type of sacrifice back in the mid 2000s, and I was a single man at that time. And on that Chord Triton LA, 88 keys was about $2,800, but it was on sale. I mean, I still feel I got paid. So I ended up paying close to like $1,900, $2,000. Have it to this day. I mean, I don't even put it to the work that it should. It's so many things you can do with these keyboards. I wish I would start doing it, but I got so many other things going on. But I still love music and not doing so many live shows anymore.